All right, so today we're working on actually drawing something using a scale. So what I'm thinking of is we're going to be drawing a house. So these are just going to be the steps on what we do. First step is we have to find the scale. So to find the scale, our first step is divide the longest side of the floor plan by the longest side of the sheet of paper. So what you're going to be doing is drawing your floor plan on a 11 by 8.5 sheet of paper, so just a normal computer paper. If you do have a bigger piece of paper and you want to draw the floor plan out on that, you can. Just note your numbers here are going to change. Okay, that 11 by 8.5, your longest side is going to be whatever the longest side of the paper you have is. But for in class, what I'm going to have available is 11 by 8.5. So let's just say that our floor plan here is 60 by 40. Okay, so our longest side is right here. It's going to be our 60-foot length. Okay, so we're going to have to divide that by our longest length of our paper. So in this case, it's 11 inches. Okay, so we take 70 divided by 11. And here we're going to get roughly 5.4 feet per inch. Now, just to keep the scale easy, we're going to round that up to the nearest whole number. So always round up. So it's 5.4. So that means we're going to round it up to 6. So what this is saying that for every 6 feet, it's going to be 1 inch on the drawing. Okay, so our scale here, 1 inch is equal to 6 feet. Okay, so that's how we set our scale. Okay, so if you follow that, once again, it's the longest side of our actual dimensions. In this case, it's 60 feet divided by the longest dimension of our paper, which is 11. So we do 60 divided by 11. We get 5.4 feet per inch. We're going to round that up to 6. Okay, so this would be 6 feet per inch. Or when we write it as our scale, we can write as 1 inch is equal to 6 feet. And 6 feet is equal to 1 inch. That scale still works the same. Okay, so second, we just want to check that that scale is going to work for the width as well. So we do the same thing with the width. So check the scale. So right here, check that the scale will work for the shorter side. So the shorter side of the house was 40 feet. The shorter side of the paper was 8. That should be 8.5 inches. So we're going to take 40 divided by 8.5. Okay, and when we do that, so when we go through that, we need that whatever this 40 divided by 8.5 is, it should be less than 6. If it's less than 6, then we are good. And that scale will be good for the width as well. So when we divide 40 by 8.5, we get 4.7, which is less than 6. So the scale works for the width. So that means that 40 feet, when we divide it by our 6 feet, it's going to be less than 8.5, so it will fit on the sheet of paper width-wise. Okay, so now that we've got our scale, now we can go into actually drawing out the house on our sheet of paper. So I just have a rough drawing here, laying out this house is 60 feet by 30 feet. So if I'm going to put it on an 11 by 8.5 sheet of paper, I already know that this is going to be my scale right here. Oops. Sorry, the 1 inch is equal to 6 feet. So the third step is now we can figure out our drawing dimensions, so we can start drawing this to scale. So we do that by, we find our drawing dimensions by dividing our actual dimensions by our scale. So once again, this just goes back to using scales and proportions. We set up that scale, the scale for our drawing over our actual is equal to our drawing dimension for whatever we're given over the actual dimension. So when we set that up, this is just roughly for the master bedroom. So 1 inch over 60 is equal to our unknown, so our drawn dimension, over our actual dimension. So to find that, we take our cross products. You get 6x. You get 6x here. And then you get 15 over here. You set them equal to each other. And then last step, to solve for x, we divide by our coefficient, which is 6, divide both sides. We're left with x equals 2.5. So this gives us what our drawing dimension should be for a room that is 15 feet long. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing. So now, and I just went through this process to show you that it is, in fact, you're just taking the actual divided by our scale. So now, instead of setting this up as cross product, just note that now we can divide the actual by our scale. So 15 divided by 6. So that's what we'll do here now. Okay, so here is once again just a quick layout. The dimensions of our house. So our house is 60 feet by 30 feet. So the first thing is we want to find our house dimensions. So when we draw, we can draw our border of our house. And what is the total length by the total width? Well, when we get our house dimensions, we go 60 over our scale. So our length over our scale, 60 over 6, by our width over our scale, so 30 over 6. 60 divided by 6 gives us 10. 30 divided by 6 gives us 5. So when we draw this on our paper, the length of our house should be 10 inches long, and the width should be 5 inches long. And we can use a ruler here to make sure we draw a straight line. And then to make sure it's a 90, we can either use a protractor or just when we draw it down, make sure this is a rectangle, so that makes it a little easier. Make sure our bottom length from end to end is 10 inches as well when we connect our widths together. Okay, so there we found our first dimensions right here. So when we go to draw this, it's going to be 10 inches by 5 inches on our sheet of paper. Okay, next, so looking at the master bedroom here, so that is this room right here. Then it is 15 feet by 14 feet. So master bedroom, 15 feet by 14 feet. So we're going to divide both those by our scale, which is 6. And when we do that, you get, whoops, that should be a 15 over 6. 15 over 6 gives us 2.5. 14 over 6 gives us 2 1/3 inch. Okay. These two are going to look very similar to the same size. A 1/2 inch and a 1/3 inch. You're not going to tell much of a difference. But when you draw it on there, and you're going to do your best. 1/2 inch, it's easy to find on a ruler. A 1/3 inch, you're going to be in between that 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch. Kind of, if you go kind of in the middle there, that's going to be close enough for your drawing dimensions. Okay, and just one last room. So bedroom 1. Bedroom 1 is 12 by 12. So once again, all we're going to do here is we're going to divide our actual dimensions by our scale, which is 6. And that's going to give us what our drawn dimensions of our room should be. So on our drawing, our bedroom 1 should be 2 inches by 2 inches. Okay, so that's going to be how you are going to lay out your drawing. So first find your scale. So go back to the first part of the video to see how to do that if you've forgotten. Then once you have your scale, now you can start taking a look at what should the actual dimensions be on the drawing for each room, and then put it all together. Once again, use a ruler, and I would keep it in inches. You could do millimeters. That would be fine. It's going to change it up a little bit, I believe. You'd have to measure the paper in millimeters to see what your actual width and length will be. But that could make it easier so you're not dealing with so many fractions. But it's going to work the same way if you use the millimeter side of the ruler or the centimeter side of the ruler.